knew she had to. Brittany, for a lot of people that didn't know, Brittany was 13 years old in middle school. Then she turned 14, and her and Todd Frizzle had a relationship, and Todd did more to create enemies for her, even tried creating an enemy out of me. I mean, they both came back to me 2 weeks after everything went down with Phil, totally apologetic to me because they found out in the end what was going on there with Phil. I mean, that's just the way it was at the time. Me and Ben, we talked to Todd. We told Todd, I said, Todd, you have all the potential in the world, but you're trying to get too much too fast. And I said, Brittany needed to move more at a slower pace because Brittany wanted to do radio, but she needed, number one, to know what she has to have to do radio, number one, because it can't be about interviewing these guests. It's got to be about you, the host.
And you got to introduce yourself. That's what you got to do first. You got to introduce yourself. You got to let people know who you are. And that's what J.T. Evans and other people did not do. They did not introduce themselves. They didn't come up with a character. They didn't say, this is who in the fuck I am. And that's what me and you did. That's why we got to where we did. Because we came on here, and you said 10 years ago that you had the balls to come on here and say, I'm 35 years old. My name is Wacko Bob. I'm 35 years old, and I live with my mom. I had the balls to say that I'm Jonathan Clarke, and I got no connections with nobody, but in 15 years, I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
take me a decade and a half, but I'm going to do it. I live with my mom in a basement, and I'm going to do it. And I did it.
Yeah, I mean, something very, very Adam Sandler-ish about that when you think about Wedding Singer and stuff. But, the big thing is, I mean, the big picture is, to do this, you got to be a big picture person to do this.
You got to be really fucked up to do what we do, and if you're not fucked up, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, and you've seen, and anyone who's seen Wedding Singer, anyone who's seen that movie, knows how something had to change for Adam Sandler. Although the movie, I'm saying you're beyond all that material stuff. It's like I can't keep living off meatballs. Making $60 a pop whenever there's something going on weekends. At $60 a pop, living in my sister's basement, type of thing. Adam Sandler was
Ariana Grande meatball. Unless it's a meatball made by Ariana Grande, you make an exception because Ariana Grande makes the best meatballs ever, and I'm going to hold her to that because I believe it. But Bob, what you're saying is true.
Unfortunately, Adam Sandler, you're saying you should be grateful for all that, but come on, there is a reality that goes on.
The reality is
that you got to be a big. If you're going to have success, you got to see the big picture. But you got to see the big picture for where you're at and where you want to be. And the only thing you could do currently on radio is deal with what you're at and work to where you want to be. And keep working to that because that's how the big picture works. You got to start off somewhere. You're not going to start off at the top.
No, you're not. You're not. I came on radio in first I had an E-Fed, like we were just talking about. I had no radio show in 1999. All I had was a fucking website. I had no radio show. By about 2004, 2005, I had a radio show, but I had a website that I was always updating, constantly. That's how I started. I started with a website. And then I expanded from an E-Fed into a news website, and I expanded that. Once I was able to get enough connections from the years that I had spent in wrestling, then I launched a website. Bob's swearing on something because he can't get it to work.
Yeah, he said, yeah, it's like, what the hell is this shit? That was me. And I know EFED's, yeah, yeah, man, you know, actually, and the last EFED I remember dealing with was back in 2000, was back in 2005, 2006. So, I mean, that's the last time I remember dealing with an EFED. And at that point, EFEDs were relegated to hotlines on the telephone. And I was helping this one kid out on the West Coast, of the country, and you know, who was coming up with some of these names he would come up with, and I said, I'm like, everything just sounds so much the same like you see now, and I went and I put my imagination together and put something together for a female wrestler, because he insisted on having this person named Lin Lee, who was a Japanese wrestler, and he had another one that was an American woman wrestler, and everything was just so hardcore based for them, you know, the Japanese hardcore style meeting the American hardcore style, and he was trying to do that, and sometimes he would mix in. The kid had a gift for mixing in wrestlers, the actual pro wrestlers with made-up wrestlers, and I just put my imagination together and came up with someone who I had actually known. Her name was Tammy. And she was actually someone who, beautiful woman, I should say.
A lot of people ask me.
And she was training in MMA fighting. She was big time in martial arts. Go ahead.
A lot of people ask me, how did you come up with the name of your show? The name of my show, HEW Entertainment, is the name of my EFED. That's how I came up with the name of the show. I was the longest running EFED probably in the history of EFEDs, and I came up with that. That was the name of my EFED. HEW Entertainment was the name of my EFED, and then I just kept it. Very rarely, I was just one of those one-hit wonders, and this is as blunt as I can be with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I had nothing in 1999. When I started this shit, I had nothing. In 1996, I was a wrestling fan who lived in his mom's basement, like you see in the movies, who wanted to have something to do with wrestling. I had no connections whatsoever. I came up with an EFED. I made an EFED. I was one of those one-hit wonders who actually got somewhere with the fucking EFED and expanded. If you're going to make it in wrestling, you got to expand. Because if you don't expand, if you do not broaden your horizons in wrestling, and you think that you're not going to make it, you think you're going to make it, but you know you can't, you're never going to get nowhere. But if you take it one day as it comes, you will get somewhere. I had nothing in 1999. I had no connections. I had no supposed list that 90% of the radio shows out there got from me. There's probably 15% of you out there who didn't. That girl, Renee Young, who's on WWE, do you think that she's actually there because she made it because she wanted to be there? She didn't get there because she wanted to be there. She got there because she got Lex Luger's number and Paul Bearer's number and Roddy Piper's number and the number to Vince McMahon's WWE headquarters from me, because she's a Canadian from Toronto, and she mentioned my name from a column that I had written about the Divas division, Kelly, because we were in a dispute about Kelly. That's how she got there, because she squanted her name in through the door. You don't think that you get there because you can get there because you can. You got to work at it.
Exactly. I mean, I tell people this all the time. In the end, I said, the way I got into radio, you know, the dark match originally was I was not the original owner of the dark match. The original owner was Rick Bizzle, and James Young was supposed to buy it out from him once he finally got it, and he worked something out with him. Unfortunately for him, James Young couldn't buy it out by sweet talking it. He owed him so much money. I wound up buying out the dark match name after being hosting a segment and filling in for James Young a couple of times. And really, I finally had to say after a while that after me and James Young had our little business plan not work out when we were supposed to start doing shows and everything.